Nothing But That Sports Talk. Welcome to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafique Louison alongside Ryan Walker. Welcome back. And it's only been a few weeks since you've been on the show. And as you can see, I've had WFAN's Dan McCarthy on the show. I've had TSN reporter Shantelle on the show, along with a certain grad student from Columbia. And if you haven't seen those interviews yet, make sure you check it out right now. But Ryan, now the subject is on like what you've been up to these past few weeks. I know you were at Achievement First, watching South Shore clinch the Brooklyn A title. Thoughts on that one?
Oh man, so busy the last couple of weeks. So my guy just told me too. He said, "You getting busy again?" I said, "Yeah, everything's getting busy," but it was good. Yeah, we were there last Saturday at a Uncommon Charter Brooklyn Achievement School, and South Shore won the Brooklyn Queens Diocese against Thomas Jefferson High School. So, always a tough rivalry between those two teams. Went down to the wire like most of the contests usually do. And Jared performed pretty well, and Keyron performed pretty well. All the players played very well. And tough fought win. And very fortunate that they pulled it out that day. It was a good win, and still been keeping pace with IS8. And went to my guys' game the other day at Delphi. We've been going to Lehigh for some stuff as well, too. So we've been making some rounds, and crunch time is going to start back this Sunday. So it's that time, as a matter of fact, 2 Saturdays, the Catholic League Championship, or maybe their first diocese, I believe, for their first part of the diocese. I think it's St. Ray's, Cardinal Hayes playing against Stepinac. And so there's a lot of basketball going on right now with high school coming to its ends with everything. College, conference tournaments pretty much beginning now, per se. And the start of next week and the week after for all that. And like I said, we got our own thing going on with crunch time coming up soon. So it's just a lot of basketball, a lot of sports going on now too, but definitely a lot of basketball. It was good to see South Shore win that part, and now the cities is coming up, which your Canarsie is in that pot as well too. It has a big game against Curtis, so I think they should be all right against Curtis. But it's postseason, got to play all the games, but they should be all right. And if they get past them, then it'll be a contest against South Shore. So we'll see how that one goes. And it's good. It's good right now. Everything is it's a lot of good basketball.
Yeah, a lot of good basketball, and I'm glad that Canarsie's in the playoffs at least. I'm happy about that, and as you remind me, I hope Canarsie and South Shore duke it out in the playoffs, because I want my Canarsie to get hungry revenge against your son, Jared Garrett. Like I told you over the phone, I want to be in his ear saying Canarsie all over his ear, because come on now, Canarsie, see, you can't make the playoffs and not win at least 1 or 2 playoff games. Just get me 1 or 2 playoff games. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Or if you want the South Shore, just take them out, please. Just take them out. And South Shore plays around the same time. Your son will dig it. Your son will dig it. Son plays around the same time as Canarsie and Curtis. So I might end up going to that one if I were to commit to any of those playoff games. But that's neither here or there.
Yeah, it's a good one. Where's Curtis located again? Where exactly?
I believe Curtis is located in Staten Island.
Staten Island. That's what I thought as well too. I knew I wasn't that insane. Okay. So it'd be a good contest. Listen, I think you guys will win, even though you do gotta come and play. But listen, anything can happen in postseason. But I think it would be a very tall task for you this year, Canarsie, to beat South Shore. That's just what I'll say about that one. There's actually an interesting post. I think it's funny too, and it's great. Our side of the nation go stay quiet on that one. But Eagle Academy from the Bronx. I don't know if you've seen that post where this young man made with the kids there. And then I get it. Listen, they're actually for the city tournament. I guess it's 30 teams that all get invited. And of course, the numbers will dwindle down. Eagle's number 1. Eagle Academy Bronx is number 1. South Shore is number 2. So with being number 1, you get a bye. So the kid, I guess, made a post and they were like, "Oh, Eagle Academy, we're coming for South Shore, we're going to South Shore, we're going to the city." And it was funny, and it was real cool, and if it got that far, it'd be nice to see that matchup: South Shore of Brooklyn, Eagle Academy of Bronx, and they got a good thing going on there. They got Coach Rose, who's phenomenal at Millbank. We know his work there. He was the coach who led the NY Dyken team to an NY Classic Championship. They got my man Coach Leaf down there. They got a good staff. So I think that's the biggest reason why they had such a big turnaround, is because what's going on with the coaching staff. And that's not no truth against the players, because they got this one kid there. Oh my goodness. Geez, I can forget his name. But he's a big time player. It'll come to me in a second. But the kid is killing senior year. Can do it all, go to the basket, shoot, everything. But South Shore is a very complete team, and they're very resilient, and they got some of the kids that were on that run last year. So that has a lot to do with how they do. Like last week's game was not easy at all, but they just found a way to stick through. And the biggest thing I'm going to tell you, that's the biggest difference for South Shore this year, is that they're battle tested. This was their toughest schedule ever for their boys basketball in history. They played at Lehigh. They had trips where they traveled, just like some of the other top schools in New York. They played Jefferson 3 times. One is postseason, but 3 times in essence. They played Canarsie. That's not an easy task. They played. They played, was that Roselle Catholic? They played Roselle Catholic, came to them. They played in their house. They played teams that when you look on, you're like, okay, so because of that, they're battle tested. When you play Lehigh is one of the top programs in the country in high school basketball. They went down there and played against Lehigh. Lehigh beat them by I think it was maybe 14 or 15 points. They made their free throws to stretch it out at the end because they were battling back. They got it to now to 8 to 6. But the fact that you have to go on the road to play that team, that's one of the top teams in the country. And then the next day they played Roselle Catholic in their house. So that's not easy. Not easy, no way at all. And I think that when you play those top teams, now when you get into your city and all that stuff, you're battle tested. You know what I mean? Now, how many of the schools in the city could say they played Lehigh at Lehigh?
Not too many.
So the strength of schedule for them this year was so intense that there's nothing that they haven't seen or will be prepared for. But like you said, listen, it's one game situations is in these situations. So it's how the ball bounced that day and how everybody come out, and we'll see how that plays out for them.
Yeah, we'll see. And you know what? I will say this, based on everything you just said, they definitely improved a lot for the way they got taken down by Severe in high school at the Nike Swoosh Classic. I'll give them the flowers on that one. Because let's face it, they should have won that game, but you know what? They are the defending champions. It was kind of like a glorified exhibition fest that time. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
And think about it, and look what you just said too. That's another one. Zavarian is a good team. You know what I mean? Zavarian got the kid Nas Muhammad, got a lot of good. And think about it. South Shore is a public school. Zavarian is a Catholic school. So that means you scheduled outside of your realms in order. You know what I'm saying? That gives you a lot of diversity. When you're a public school and you're playing teams that's completely out of everything that you're doing, like Lehigh is in the NIBC for New York. You know what I mean? That's the conference where they play in all those top schools, the La Lumiere's, Monteverdes, the Albany Academies. They're playing the Oak Hills. They played Oak Hill the other day. That playing against a team in that conference is something elite. And when you South Shore and you're used to seeing Canarsie and Thomas Jefferson and Erasmus and the regular teams in the Lincolns in your conference, boys and girls, you play now Zavarians from the Catholic League. They're playing the Christ the Kings, the Ohalos, the Malloys. They playing those. Malloy might be public, but not Malloy. But the Stepanaks, the St. Ray's, the Cardinal Hayes. That's who they playing. So now you're seeing a different strength of play and schedule when you play that too. That's like the equivalent with the NCAA tournament. Mid-majors or decent programs or higher programs try to make a strength of schedule where they play a plethora of everybody before they go in conference. Because when you go to the NCAA tournament, you could play everybody in your conference there all year, and every team is different. But in your conference plays a certain way. You play out of conference at a style you never seen before. That could be totally different for you. And that's the biggest thing this year with South Shore more than other years. Because last year on paper, that team last year might be better than this team this year. But in regards to strength of schedule, who they played in competition, it was a really good strength of schedule for them this year.
Yeah, it was really good. And don't forget to check out Canarsie take on Curtis and South Shore. They
yes,
their game play around the same time. So yeah, you can't wait for the results of that. And you know what? Yeah, high school basketball, it's always going to get intense when you sit there and watch this game. I mean, I'm glad you were there at Achievement First. I mean, yeah, I kind of got sidetracked when I was on my way over there early in the morning, but you know what? It happens.
Yeah, it was an early morning too. You ain't never lie. Oh, that was an early morning. I got to get up early Saturday and meet with my guy, Coach Blue, who lives not too far from where my lady's at, and he's on the staff at South Shore. So God bless. I rode with him to South Shore. We were there with all the kids from beforehand. So it was cool to be inside the school and talking to Cassius, getting ready. Jumped on the school bus because the school bus was going to definitely get them to Academy Charter. Went down, came with the team and the staff, so that was great. God bless South Shore staff, and we seen a good game, but we had to get up so early, 11 o'clock start. That's another tough one for the kids too. Getting up, and the player, I don't want to make excuses that because there are leagues where you're gonna have to get up late, early, and play. I know IS8 when it's high school league. Shoot, they got sometimes days games start 8 o'clock.
Jaquan was going as a media talent. We going in. I mean, yeah, but that's different. I mean, you going as a fan. Jaquan was going as a media talent to get videography interviewed. So,
shoot, I mean, I had to get my butt up early too. Listen, the crazy thing was that I had to remember to call Coach Blue, pardon me, in the morning because if I didn't, I was gonna go travel on my own to get there. I had to jump on the railroad or the train or whatever. I would have figured it out to get down, and that wouldn't have been an issue. But I mean, the only thing that I would say for different for Kwame is that he's coming from a longer. His travel is longer because he's coming from the Bronx. You know what I mean? And that would be more difficult in that sense, in regards to that part. But we all had to get up early. It was difficult whether you were family, friends, staff, and I ended up getting up way more early because we're traveling with the kids. So it was definitely early for everybody and a sacrifice. But like I said, I've been at IS8, and I know there's some days the game started at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and we're there. If you want to watch basketball and catch everything, you get there on time. You can't. It's what it is. But that was an early start.
Yeah, it really was. And you want to know something else? Well, there's a lot, but let's transition to some college basketball that happened this week. I mean, a lot of unexpected moments that we just happened to witness. And well, obviously, one that happened with St. John's for the girls' side defeating UConn. St. John's defeating UConn. Sounds familiar? I mean, it happened on the men's side, but now it happened with the women's side. And UConn, they're kind of tumbling a little bit. They're like literally projected a 7th seed after having losses like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on St. John's defeating UConn if you at least catch the highlights or have been tuned in?
Oh no, St. John's. I didn't watch the game. I did see that St. John's did beat them. I think they said that's like the first time in 13 or 14 years. Some astronomical crazy number. Well, shout out to Mimi Reed, who was at Ole Miss and graduated and doing a 5th year graduate at St. John's. She's a Bronx kid. I forgot what high school she was at in the city, but she was I guess the first lady honorary member for Jelly Fan, and she St. John's has a good thing going down there with the girls this year. You know what I mean? They're not that. I don't even want to say bad. They got a good thing going on this year, and that was big time for the program to get a victory past that. I think I'm not making excuses for them because UConn is struggling, but UConn is nowhere near healthy as they should be. I mean, Azzy Fuzz is
without Paige Beckers the entire year, and that other girl. I mean,
Azzy Fuzz,
yeah, she's been kind of in and out of the lineup. I mean, well, at the very least, they don't have a losing record, and they're going to be the top 16 team. So
yeah,
you don't really have to worry about UConn making it to the tournament. It's just a matter of how deep they're going to go. But if you ask me,
yes,
the way the UConn is structured with the women's side this year, they're going to be like a Sweet 16 Elite eight exits. Seriously, they're not going to be in the final four.
Seems so.
Like seriously. Because you got
the only way they can get to the final.
Undefeated. They barely kept the undefeated streak after smoke in Tennessee. You got of course Iowa. You got girl Caitlin Clark's balling out. So yeah, you got a lot of teams to watch out for.
Unless they get a really and like you said, going in with their ranking, they won't. And it's so different in the women's tournament because the ladies' game is, you had your years where it was top heavy with some programs, the Tennessees over the years, the UConns, many programs have had, but it's besides the top dogs, really, it is so even in the women's game that especially in a tournament on a one-day situation, you'll be surprised who you can lose to. And the only way they can make a big time run is if they get a friendly bracket. And how friendly of a bracket can you get if you go in as a 7 seed at the moment? You know what I mean? That means you're playing the middle of the pack of every good team. You know what I mean? And you could have a slip up moment, especially if Paige is done for the year, right? Like we said, right? Mm-hmm. And is Fuzz back?
Yeah, I don't really think Fuzz is back, but for what I'm
I don't think so either.
UConn is still protected number one in the Seattle 4 region, so I can't sleep with them on that. And St. John's is the first 4 outs. So
wow. So if UConn does get a 1 seed and they get a favorable region, they can still make a run. They run into a South Carolina. They run into one of them top girls. That's where things can get dicey, especially if you don't have Paige
last year. So yeah,
or Fuzz. So
yeah. Now on to the men's side. Before we even get to the men's side, let's just bring back the sports segment of the week. And this one's coming from Chris Mad Dogg Russo.
Oh, it's that time of the week, and we got a special guest, JJ Redick's first time. So here's the deal, JJ. Dogg tells us why he's mad, 3 top reasons, and then you guys can tell us whether he's nuts or you agree. You ready to do this?
I'm ready. Here we go. No football.
Remember, it's Ash Wednesday. God's watching.
I know. That's a good point. There you have it. You'll like the first one. How about North Carolina? This is ridiculous. They're 8-8 in the ACC. The ACC's not even that good. They won 2 road games. This is a team that last year should have won a championship and was preseason number 1. They're 8-8. They got a big-time backcourt. They have Bacot, who's a very good forward. They got the kid in from Northwestern to transfer, and they're 8. Right now, the Tar Heels are not going to make the NCAA tournament, and they put in Hofstra is going to make the Florida Atlantic is going to make the NCAA tournament. And right now, UNC may not, unless they go out there and beat Duke, Virginia, Notre Dame, and whoever their 4th game is this week. A disgrace. The Tar Heels, awful. That's number 1.
I actually don't know why this is something you're mad about. I'm quite pleased. I'm quite
pleased. The Dookie.
I am not. Number 2. And I don't want to pick on the NBA because all All-Star games are a complete joke. The baseball All-Star game is a disaster. Interleagues killed it. Everybody hanging out with each other before the game. Forget the NFL. They got rid of the stupid Pro Bowl. They're playing flag football. And the NHL is a mess too. But this NBA All-Star game, I swear I tried. Sunday. I tried to watch the introductions of the players picking a player. I tried. Oh, goodness, did I try. The first 6 minutes, it was unwatchable. I checked the halftime. 99-92. The Heat and the Knicks couldn't score that much 15 years ago. Oh, it's a disgrace. Dunks and threes. The 55 points by Tatum. That was a mess. The All-Star game has to be fixed. I can't watch it. And the same thing, I don't want to just pick on the NBA. All All-Star games. The baseball one is a disaster. I work the darn thing and I leave. I don't watch it. The NFL, they got rid of it. And they still get a great rating, which is hard to believe. And the NHL's a mess. But the NBA All-Star game has really deteriorated. 93 in Salt Lake, the game was great. Overtime, Pat Riley, Westfall, Jordan. The game on Sunday, good night. I hated it. Item 2.
I don't know what's happening today.
I don't
know what's happening
today. You agree again?
Yeah.
First of all, I said this on Monday. That was brutal to watch.
Yes.
Brutal to watch. Counterpoint. Maybe All-Star games are not for basketball purists. Maybe they're for the kids. Maybe for the
I will say this to you.
My son enjoyed it.
I will say this to you.
Want to see the stars
it was a
together.
disgrace because there is no excuse to give less effort in an All-Star game than you do when you're working out in the summer.
Okay, the reason why I showed it because I remember last year North Carolina was in the NCAA championship, choking to Kansas. Obviously, Aaron was happy about that, and then they defeated your Blue Devils to get there. And now this year, even though they did get a win against Notre Dame, but then again, Notre Dame is trash, so what you expect? Their first 4 out. So what are your overall impressions about the way North Carolina been playing?
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And I'm going to start off this way. North Carolina is one of the greatest basketball programs and institutions in the history and the face of college basketball. We're talking about Dean Smith, the Four Corners. We're talking about even Hubert Davis is I think he's a really good coach. It's a black man, a brother. I think he's doing a good job down there. Of course, Roy Williams came from Kansas, back to his alma mater, did phenomenal things there. They've had great things over these. They've had phenomenal players. They probably have the greatest player to ever play in NBA history that went to their college institution. Michael Jordan, Rasheed Wallace's, Jerry Stackhouse, Antoine Jameson's, Raymond Felton, Tyler Lawson, Cole Anthony, you name it. And there's a million. Vince Carter, huh?
Don't forget Tyler Hansbrough, the guy that owned
Psycho T, Tyler Hansborough. I mean, the list goes on and on of many phenomenal talents that, as Danny Green from Strong Island, guys that went through North Carolina. That's never a debate. I will never hate on that institution for that because they do great things there, and that I think that's what makes the Duke and North Carolina thing so much more bigger. But I also did say that rivalry is not going to end right away or will end. But that fight this year is not the same. And this is why I'm happy this happened to North Carolina fans. I don't see them talking or posting because sometimes they got Dallas Cowboy juice in them. They can get so arrogant that they forget that sometimes they need humble pies. There were times when Duke was dominating back in the years, which, all this stuff through the ACC, and North Carolina was not going to the tournament. Not going to the tournament.
I remember that one, I believe.
Many times.
Yeah, I believe in 2011, after Tyler Hansbrough graduated, North Carolina were kind of average. They didn't make it to the tournament. They were average. I remember that season.
Listen to me. In the last, maybe 25, I might even be going back more, maybe 30-something years, Duke didn't make the tournament one time. And that was about 2 years ago. And that was like the biggest news conference in the world. Oh, my God, Duke's not going to the tournament during the COVID year. When we didn't recruit too great.
Yeah, I mean, but let's not forget that last after they won a tournament game, I believe it was 2021. They only didn't play that game because the players caught COVID. That's the only reason they probably would have made a tournament if they had a deeper run than that. Let's not forget.
That season was very interesting because Duke canceled about 6 to 8 games in the non-conference because of what they did with COVID, which they could have played and not played. And some other schools were upset about that went on the schedule, but it is what it is. And nevertheless, this is about North Carolina. I want to talk about them. They're a great university. And RJ Davis is from Stepinac, New York kid. Love RJ Davis. I think Baycott is a very good player, even though I think he's been in school for like 700 years. And Caleb Love is a remarkable talent. They have good kids on that team. But now here's the truth serum. They're not that good as what they think they are. And then last year, and I don't want to sound like a hater, they really got hot and turned into a buzzsaw at the right time. They weren't that crazy greater last year than they are doing right now, per se. What was key with their team last year is they had, I forgot the kid's name, the white boy transfer from Oklahoma that could shoot threes. He was like another equivalent of the gentleman they had a few years ago that made that buzzer beater shot against one of the guys in the tournament. That transfer kid brought a lot of veteran leadership to that team and a different art form for that team with the big fellas and everything else they had in. And they got hot during the right time. That's why, in hindsight, it wasn't even the fact that, it was the fact Coach K in his last year ended them there. You know why that one hurt the most? And I don't care what nobody want to tell me, Aaron or whoever want to watch. If Duke beats North Carolina, they're winning the national championship. They were going to beat Kansas. They would have never had a 19-point lead and diminished the 19-point lead. I'm not saying we would have went up 19 on Kansas, different matchup. But if we would have been in that same position that North Carolina would have been in, you can guarantee that's a national championship coming home to Duke University. And the reality of it is this, that North Carolina is not as good as what they thought they are. When they was talking about that, when they were number one in the beginning of the year, and he's winning, I'm like, you're playing this. Everybody who plays the out-of-conference schedule first is going to look so crazy. The loss is starting to mount up. It's 6 in a row now, maybe 7. 6 in a row. If Duke would have ever lost 6 games in a row, Ukraine and Russia would have been talking about it. It would have been news all over the stratosphere that Duke lost 2 in a row this year, and it was a big deal. And they lost 6 games straight.
It's even a big deal that
6.
It's even a big deal that Duke is still undefeated or almost undefeated at home. They had to struggle to defeat Louisville. Louisville's a bad team.
And Louisville stinks. And that goes to the other thing too to say.
That's
that
Miami.
We got blasted. This Duke team. I told my guy the other day, he's a North Carolina fan. I said Duke has a 10-year lease with me. I was a Duke fan because Coach K was there. Coach K is no longer there. That's no poo-poo to Shire. Shire, I think, is going to be a very good coach, but he's not Coach K. So if it's all about recruiting, they got a good recruiting class that came in now. They have a good one coming in next year. They have good things they're following up after that. So they're on the heels of a lot of things. But it's also about gelling, and the college game is so different now. It's hard to keep kids for 2 to 3 years, especially if they're 5-star or elite 4-star. If you're a 5-star elite kid going to Duke, you're probably going to be a one and done or maybe a 2-year kid the most, and you're gone. So it's hard to build a team that's a big elite program team name like Duke, and if you can't keep the kids all the time, you're getting different sensational 18-year-old freshmen every year. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like the kids want to go to Duke and they're going to recruit. So Duke is going to get guys from the transfer portal as well. but not as much. They're probably going to have 4 to 5 kids come in every year on scholarship that are nationally ranked kids, right?
Right.
So it's just harder to win now. When Duke won with Jaleel and them, four of those kids are freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to win with when Anthony Davis and them won one of those other teams. Freshmen. It's hard to win with freshmen. Most of the teams that's winning like that got one little sophomore, a junior, maybe a senior sprinkled in on the team. Even mingling with freshmen. It's just a different plateau. And North Carolina is feeling that as well too, because the kids that go to the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Gonzaga now we'll consider, but Gonzaga is going to keep kids. That program is different. But the kids that are going to those bigger programs like that, the top kids know that they're going pro if they go to this school.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Anthony was at North Carolina for how long? 1 year?
Yeah, 1 year. He was one and done.
He's a pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at all the kids that was on Duke last year. Most of them are in the pros.
Most of them. I mean, is that hard to do? I mean, when you know how hard it is to even be talented enough to even for recruiters to actually talk to you about playing for the team?
Playing for the team. So I am not upset that they lost. Yes, JJ Redick. That's why JJ Redick is not upset too. They need that truth serum. They need to wake up. They're not as good as what they think they are, and they're struggling. Caleb Love is a streaky demon. When he makes shots, he makes shots. When he doesn't, he does not. Okay? And I don't want to poo-poo on my man RJ Davis because he's from New York, but he's struggling a little bit too. Baycott, he can play. He's a good player, but you listen, 5th-year senior, they know what you're bringing to the table. They're not as good as what they think they are, and they're going to see if they don't get hot and become a buzzsaw again, they're going to have an early exit in the tournament. And I'm not saying the Duke going to go far. I don't think Duke can win more than 2 games. I think they're Sweet 16, and it's a good night. You know what I mean? They might lose in the second round.
I remember last time I pulled up the standings, they were like, Duke was projected to be like what, a 7-8 seed in one conference, in the East region, and March Madness is going to be at the Garden this year, so I know you better have your money saved up or you go as a fan, because not only are you going to have the Big East, but you're going to have like the Sweet 16, Elite 8 for the East region as well.
We'll see how it pan out. Depending on who they, we might get some tickets. So it's just that's good to see them have a little truth serum. But North Carolina will pick it up again. One thing I do say, I really do like Hubert Davis. I think he's a very good coach for them, and he'll find a way to recruit them a little bit. But that team, I thought it was absolutely comical when they said this team is going to be the one to try to come back and win the national championship. I hope I'm not biting my words in 5 or 6 weeks, because I understand how the tournament goes, but that's highly unlikely. They're not even. We're neither. They're not a top 4 team in the ACC. They're not. They're not. They the same teams that's the top heavy ones that we got blasted by kick their butts too. So it's not like, and that's pretty much how it'll end. Now, the other part that I do agree with Matt Doug is so right, and he's true. And I said it to my guy the other day. I said, I'm going to keep it very honest with you. Every professional sport in the United States of America that has an all-star game sucks.
It
does.
We'll get back to college basketball in a minute, because I want to touch up on that Fordham buzzer beater that we saw for the girls' side. But now that we're subject of the All-Star break, yeah.
It sucks. You laugh and you say
is poo-pooing on the All-Star weekend. Last year was a dunk contest. Only top in one. This year, a G League player won a dunk contest. We already went over Julius Randle being a 3-point shootout. He got in because he had a good 3-point percentage, not because he made 1,000 threes like Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. Julius Randle, he's a decent 3-point shooter, but he's not 3-point shootout related. Let's be honest. And Team Utah, they pretty much given them that win because they hosted the All-Star break. So we don't even need to talk about the skills challenge. But the whole structure, and don't even get me started on the Miz buzzer beater that didn't count.
I love the NFL. I haven't watched.
It's It's not even like it's not the first time that the NBA All-Star Game had games where the team scored at least 108 points between 108 to 170 points between. Like, seriously. All right, get to your point.
Yeah, I love the NFL. I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in years. I didn't watch most of this. I peaked a little bit this year with all the different nuances they did because it was like kind of cool. You see Peyton, but I don't watch the Pro Bowl. Bad. I love hockey. Yes, I said I love hockey.
I watch hockey.
Not that All-Star weekend is. Well, you need to start watching some hockey, brother. When in season with regular play is good.
I watch regular season, but I don't watch the All-Star weekend because.
Oh no! Oh God, it's terrible.
Like, why did they do it in the division? Why they do it between division tournaments? Like, seriously.
It's terrible. Every time they try to find a different way, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Terrible. And the baseball weekend, the home run derby probably is more something. And even the home run derby has died down because if you don't have big names, I'm not saying big names, like the common big names in baseball, the average person is not going to know it. It's bad to say, you need American stars to do, whether black or white, I think to really focus on the home run derby more per se. But that's probably more exciting than anything else. But you can't have
baseball classic is more exciting than the
It is because it means something. It means something for the country and your pride and everybody.
Olympics right there.
But you can't the whole All-Star weekend game is bad, and they're all bad. They're bad. And this NBA All-Star weekend was not great. They have to find a way to make it more competitive, where it means something, where both sides are at least putting out a little bit more better effort. And I think it's more. As I told my man, I said, when you go to one or two, and I've been to one or two All-Star games, after a while, it's really about the fans and the people that come out. So that's where things are more predicated to. I think. Somebody said, oh, the Super Bowl was great. I said, yeah, but you got to remember the Super Bowl is not an all-star game. The Super Bowl is a championship game for the NFL. So it's a different for you to compare that one entity that's a championship game. The Pro Bowl was terrible. And in the NBA All-Star weekend, they got Mac McClung was the greatest thing for the All-Star weekend.
Without question. Jericho Sims couldn't even put up a better dunk than what Mac McClung did. It was over, as Vince Carter always said.
Yes. And that's another thing. My guy was getting me about the New York Knicks participants. I said, first things first, Jericho Sims was just in there because he can actually leap high. He has no creativity as dunks. You see, that's why he came out to what he did, even though what he did was actually difficult dunks, not, the hanging, but that's not going to win the competition. And I said, Julius Randle.
That dunk he did when he showed that little paper saying, give me 50. Pretty much 50 on his end, but yeah, not really.
Now the other part, Julius Randle, like you said, I think you nipped it on the butt. Julius Randle shot a good percentage from the three-point line. Julius Randle had a very good year. That's why he was an all-star. So somebody got hurt, and Julius Randle was then placed into the three-point shootout. Julius Randle is not a three-point competition shooter. He's an in-game three-point type of rhythm shooter. And even in-game, if Randle starts off bad from the arc, he has bad days. Yeah, I watched Randle miss 10 threes in a game this year, and I've watched Randle make 6 threes in a quarter. So, I knew that wasn't going to be profitable for him, and I knew that part. So it's just, there's so much parts of the weekend that could have been better. So I agree with that with Chris, and I'm not upset that North Carolina is getting the truth that we all get sometimes, is that your team sometimes does bad and you go through stretches. It is what it is. Like I said, I haven't seen nobody that's in North Carolina talk about any basketball in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, because obviously they're saving that talk for when the tournament comes around. I
hope so.
Yeah. But yeah, you were on the show when Deb Whitcast was talking about how the Eagles choke to the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, what are your overall impressions about Kansas City win another Super Bowl?
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory.
Not.
Listen, I got this guy here that's a big Eagles fan. He's my guy. Like him. I call him Jalen Hurts. He had good points, but I didn't really want to buy into that day. I told him what he cares. But he tried to come to me with all the conspiracy theories about why the Eagles lost, the refs, and this, and then that whole thing that came up the other day with the NFL being scripted, how this is scripted, and they picked this, and yada. I told y'all, Philadelphia is the better team, and they are solid from top to bottom. But the better player is Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes is an absolute stud. And we're probably looking at right now the second greatest quarterback to ever play football. If he stays on this pace and keeps achieving goals and individual merits like he's doing, he's going to be the greatest quarterback to ever play football. You know, that's hard to say because we know what the greatest quarterback to play football has accomplished. You know what I'm saying? But if anybody has the time, the right team, environment, and talent to do it, it's going to be him, and he's on pace. So I knew that. I just felt like if you want to talk about script, and I don't want to sound like the narrator, remember, Patrick Mahomes' first year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goes to the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots with Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they would have had even a little bit more defense and that game was close, they might have won. They didn't, right? New England goes on to win. What happens the next year? Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the Super Bowl, they win. Next year comes, they try to go back to back, right?
Right.
They try to go back to back. They lost to Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Bucks when Tom Brady switched over, and they lost an offensive lineman during the game and the week before, but that's neither here nor there. But they lost. Next year comes, he loses to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals beat them twice, and then going into the next year, beat them once. And now the narrative became Cincinnati and Joe Burrow owns Patrick Mahomes, which I thought was blasphemous. And the Bengals have their number. And I thought that, I was like, whoa, that's like, we're going off these last three games over how Kansas City has dominated them over the last few years. Cool. So I knew that he was going to get his redemption against Cincinnati,
Mm-hmm.
whether we liked it or not. And the NFL gods was going to make sure and grant that he was going to win the Super Bowl. So 2 championships, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, a league MVP, yada. And he'll have other times to do it as well, too. In Philadelphia, I think, unfortunately, as much as I don't like it, they're not going to keep – they have 11 guys that are going to be free agents that they have to think about. They're not going to sign everybody back. They will sign the core guys. But if they keep a lot of the core together, as much as I hate it, I'm a Giants fan, they can go right back to the Super Bowl. And they have Jalen Hurts. They will have an opportunity to win it before his contract time is up.
Yeah.
But Kansas City was going to win.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I picked Kansas City to win. Do you see my video I did? Do you see my video I did for Plains Not Perry Sports Update? Kansas City was my pick to win, and it became true.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But it was a good Super Bowl, nevertheless.
Yeah, very good Super Bowl. You want to know what else is good? That buzzer beater by some girl named Anna who plays for the women's side of Fordham University. I mean, if you see the highlights of that buzzer beater against Rhode Island, come on, man. Fordham, they're probably not gonna win the regular season A10 title, but at the very least, that moment stand out. It got showed up on ABC. Good Morning America. That's how good that buzzer beater was. So, thoughts?
Wait, you know what? I can't go deep. You said, yeah, I have to go check it out after the show. You said Rhode Island versus Fordham for the ladies?
Yeah.
When this happened, yesterday or 2 days ago?
Happened yesterday. And you know what? If you
I'm
didn't
going to look at it.
I'm going to just show you this clip of the week.
Fordham's out of timeouts. Here we go. DeBraz got that to go. 2-point game. Into DeWolf with 4. DeWolf for the win! Good! Fordham wins it at the buzzer!
Yeah, so thoughts on that buzzer beater, because that was ridiculous.
That's good for the program for the girls, man. That's good. That's good for the program for the girls. Wow. Good Morning America. Holy crap. That's special. That's special to do that right there. That's I think the fact that you said Good Morning America, that's pretty special that they did that. And man, Fordham program, you know what? For a small university in that part of the Bronx over there, and just right in the cut, and such an educational, academic, strong school. Well, I tell you, over the last 15, 20 years, and even throughout, because they've had such a program. You look in the rafters, there's guys there that went pro or great college careers or overseas, and many, great communication majors and so on and so forth that come from there. We've talked about that extensively. But just for basketball, they've actually been a really consistent, good program for the last 20 years.
Exactly.
To me, I really think we always used to go down to Fordham to watch games. And even if we didn't know they weren't great, they always had one or two players that was really good, and you had to go down to watch. Do they have 20 wins this year?
Yeah, the men's side, they're like 22. The men's side, they're like 22-7, 22-6.
They're good, and Hams was there a few years ago. That program is good, and they're doing good things down there. That's probably there. Listen, every college university will party somehow, some way. They're not a super party school, but on campus they got to be going nuts, for what the girls are doing and what the guys is accomplishing, and hopefully they can win that that conference title to get at large. I don't think that the Atlantic 10 can't. No, the Atlantic 10 probably will get more than one team. Yeah, I don't think it's just you have to win.
Yeah, I mean, well, for the men's side, VCU currently owns the top spot. Well, Fordham is only 2 games behind. So that it's going to be tough considering Fordham did lose to VCU last weekend.
Well, if we'll see how the committee does. There are some years the committee's only giving the Atlantic 10 one, but they have really good teams in the program. In the conference, that if their conference is playing pretty consistent, like what's that, like Dayton, right? Duquesne's,
Louis,
right? There's decent kids, decent schools in the program, in the conference, that if there's a Temple, if they're consistent, you'll get more than one team. That conference has earned that over the years. I don't know how friendly the tournament committee will be to them this year, but hopefully they'll still be able to make an attempt. But Fordham has a consistent program, and I told you too that the kid Trey Shepard from Eagle Academy, Brooklyn,
to LIU. I know.
Yep.
They can use something like that because LIU basketball is trash this season. I mean, come on, they're 3-20.
Well, I wasn't gonna say it. They're pretty bad.
I didn't watch any of their games, but I just know based on the record, I'm like, what happened? You got Rod Strickland as your coach, and you.
Well, when you're 3-20, I don't think you're missing too much. So I don't think you would have anything great to evaluate off 3-20. But that's also the thing too. We do got to be fair. Let's give Rod's there. So those are the things, like sometimes people say, not you, but other people say, oh. Yeah, just because a guy come right away don't mean it's going to turn around right away. It take time, and Rod's is going to take some time. The recruiting, he's got to have some influence, because look, a kid from Brooklyn's coming, and they have another kid from Eagle Academy Brooklyn that is top 3 schools are LIU, and I'm like, you know what, man, I hope that kid go over there with him too, because it seems like he's trying to. It's going to take time to build that. New York is so competitive on the low with colleges we have here. It's difficult. Like, you think, look, St. John's, Syracuse, upstate or not, Albany, LIU, St. Francis, Brooklyn, right? Hofstra, Stony Brook. it's so hard. It is, and there's so many that I'm forgetting. And the Jersey area, man, recruiting is so tough. Everybody trying to get these kids. Manhattan, Columbia, and that's Ivy League, so it's even tougher for them to recruit because you got to get a kid that's doing well academically as well athletically. So New York is such a crapshoot sometimes in recruiting and getting players, especially when it's just really tough. College basketball is really tough to win in, honest to God.
Yeah, it's always tough to win. I mean, like LIU, when we did make it to the tournament in 2018, we had to play a playing tournament. We had to play the first 4 game against Radford and lost.
Right.
Because
when Radford was a good team.
I mean, because they're coming from a mid-level conference. Right now,
Correct.
PCU projectedly, assuming that they don't win the tournament, they're the only team projected to make it to the tournament as a 12 seed at-large bid.
Look at that. It's
and
tough, man.
Won some tournament games before in the past when they made it. So, yeah, obviously the roster is different from when they defeated your Blue Devils, but VCU is a team not to sleep on.
No. They've done good things over the last 15, 20 years in college basketball as well, too, to respect what that program does.
Yeah, and don't forget to check them out as the Atlantic 10 tournament will be at the Barclays Center next month. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Almost a week away.
Oh, yeah. Now, obviously, I was a special guest on the NBA Exchange with the podcast by Dexter Henry a couple weeks ago. If you haven't seen it already, don't forget to check it out. We'll talk. We can evaluate my time but I want to let you know that I will make a special guest appearance on the Point Blank show by Shantelle Chaud and this guy named Akeem as they break down all the other sports, including that Jake Paul boxing matchup that's happening this Sunday. So, yeah, you're going to probably get my perspective about that. You're going to hear my perspective about my journey. You're going to hear that. So I just want to announce that for those of you that listen to this episode.
That's going to be good. That's good. And listen, earlier I told you I did a little segment with Real Leo. His TV joined his podcast. He had one of his other guys on as well, too. So, that'll be out and flowing soon. It was cool to be with Leo in talks of sports. We talked Knicks and, oh, Lord, always interesting to talk our Knicks. And we had some other things with the offensive coordinator, different talk situation with the Baltimore Ravens. We also talked to the NBA. There's some other NBA topics we talked about and went into. But we had some really cool stuff to talk about. And I'm glad you're on the shows, man. You've been working, grinding, doing what you do. And, we all just, just keep trying to do this sports stuff, this basketball, culture stuff, what we do, for the kids and for the whole thing and the culture. We just keep it going, keep it going and keep working on different platforms.
Exactly. And, oh, yeah, we had to start the Athletes Unlimited women's basketball event with Team Williams taking out Team Sims in overtime. And then also Team Cloud took out Team Cole. So, yeah, just to give you a little quick sports update that's happening down at Athletes Unlimited. I mean, obviously, I know you told me you checked it out and you were very impressed with Athletes Unlimited. Well, please make sure to check out Athletes Unlimited. You can watch the games on the Women's Sports Network if you have an LTV platform TV. But if you don't, you can check it out on the WNBA League Pass. You can check it out on Ballet Sports. I mean, obviously, we don't really carry that in New York, but whatever you carry, you can also catch it on CBS Sports and wherever you get your WNBA women's basketball coverage. So make sure you check it out. But I remember you told me that you watched it last year and you were very impressed. Can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, which one was that again?
Athletes
Yeah, it was a ladies' league, right?
Yeah.
Yes. No, it came on during a good time because it was like, it was great product placement. I was watching basketball, men or women anyway. And when it came on, it was a good time. Like, you could flick it and see. There were some girls that I seen that I played. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I thought that for them to have any plateau where the ladies can have another plateau to play besides just the WNBA, some form of a professional magnitude. I thought that was pretty cool. It's a good league, smart. And if they're back, I got to make sure I turn in my channel too so I could catch one of the games. It was so cool to just turn the top right.
So just tune in. That's all I gotta say. Because they're gonna have the preparation for the upcoming WNBA season.
Facts.
Yeah. So well, this is talk about the New York Knicks, because I know you probably, I don't know if you listened to my post when I was talking about the Knicks, and yes, I meant everything I said when I was on the NBA exchange with Dexter. The Knicks will be a playoff team, then I'm at least saying that based on the current pace, especially since the Cavaliers lost to the Denver Nuggets, and well, the Sixers came back and beat the Memphis Grizzlies. So yeah, Brooklyn, they're not relevant anymore. They're going to be a playoff team, but they're probably not going to get that far. The Knicks should get into the top 5 at least. But I was listening to a podcast where Stephen A. Smith was ranting about the Knicks. He was talking about the Knicks, but at the same time he thought that he would lose his mind if the Knicks were to get the Cavaliers in the first round and then lose to them after not being able to get them during the offseason via trade. So the Knicks... Do you see him hold on to say that? Well, I know you said it at the beginning, but are you still sticking with your opinion when it comes to the New York Knicks? I mean, they are number 6 in the Eastern Conference.
Well, what was my opinion?
Your opinion was you had to be like you're anywhere between you're a playing tournament team, no higher than 6, no lower than 10.
Correct. Now, I projected 7 through 11. I said no higher than 6. I thought 6 would be their ceiling. I thought that 5 was manageable depending on how they flew for the whole entire season. Now, and it's just so crazy because what you're bringing up now, what we're talking about now, is something that we kind of talked about with Leo on what we did earlier. But I couldn't explain this too much and elaborate, but we did all talk about this. This is why, and when we do projection, we're doing projections from beforehand, foreshadowing if things go a certain type of way for all the teams. Many things have happened in the Eastern Conference, and I'm not making an excuse. I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm happy that the Buck rule went out that way. But many things have occurred in order for the Knicks to be in that position to actually be a 5th, maybe even catch a 4. I don't think we'll get to 4, but a 5th or 6th seed in the East. 1, the Atlanta Hawks have severely underachieved. Right?
They McMillan.
Right? They have severely underachieved. They've severely underachieved, and they fired Nate McMillan. Nate McMillan and Trae Young were not getting along. Nate McMillan and Clint Capella one time, but there was a lot of issues going in. Atlanta has underachieved. Toronto stayed kind of the way they are, but they've kind of... Miami started off very sluggish before they started kicking it back into high gear now. And Miami kind of has taken a step back.
They did Kevin Love.
Right? Which is key for them, right? Now, with that being said, Charlotte is really bad, regress, of course. So some of the teams that were of that bottom part that you thought, Indiana has fell off. So a lot of those things have worked out. The Brooklyn Nets have dismantled their higher top tier talent. They have very good young kids, and they're still going to be very competitive because I like what those young kids are doing. But without Kevin Durant and Kyrie, that's no longer a threat to the Knicks. It's a team that they could possibly beat or go to a 7-game series if they play, but they probably won't based off their seedings. So now, with that being said, all those factors working out, yeah, now the Knicks have an opportunity to be a 5 seed. Now, the question is, would they be able to beat the Cavs if they're in the first round against the Cavs, the 4 seed? Or if they stay in the 6 seed, they would play possibly a Milwaukee Bucks, right? Or Sixers, excuse me.
Sixers.
So that'll be a matchup that's not in their favor. But the Knicks have still a good, solid team. Jalen Brunson has been a breath of fresh air. Julius Randle, all-star season, found back into his form. RJ Barrett is not playing as well now as he did last season, but the numbers are still decently there. Just has to get a little bit better back on the defensive end. And with somebody who's getting on him bad, and I'm also telling guys too, I'm like, you guys give such. I mean, like I said, I know RJ has been getting scored on this year, and I'm not gonna pick up for that. He has to do better. But he also, and him and Quentin Grimes actually also guard the best perimeter players on the other team all the time. And this NBA has guys that are gifted offensive players. Guys are gonna score. You know what I mean? Pat Beverly is a decent defender, right? Even though he's not the same as he used to be in the past. You know how many times somebody scored 40 on Pat Beverly?
So many times.
I'm saying, like, shot blockers go and get dunked on. You know what I mean? Like, things like that happen. So, yes, he's struggling now. And a lot of people are like, oh, why can't he play defense like he did? Well, listen, last year he has money now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving it an excuse, but it's a whole entire thing with that, how it's just really, I feel so bad how New York, not the people who are in the favor of RJ, but in New York, we have scapegoated RJ Barrett for a lot of the miscues for the whole entire New York Knicks. Some people brought up, oh, he wasn't playing, he was pouting. Every player that doesn't get to play at the end of the game, that's a player used to playing, is gonna pout when you don't play at the end of the game. Was Derrick Rose happy earlier this year when he wasn't playing?
No, he wasn't.
He made his gripes made about that, but he didn't go too crazy because him and Tom Thibodeau have a good rapport and a good relationship. And quite frankly, he's sitting down and getting paid. He'll play somewhere else again. So, but the guy said to me that the Knicks don't have 40 wins because RJ Barrett is not playing his potential. I said, whoa, are we booking our hat on RJ Barrett to be the savior in order for us to have 40 wins? Is that really what you're telling me? I said, first things first, RJ Barrett missed about 10 or 12 games with injury. Are we forgetting this?
We're not forgetting this at all. I mean, when the Knicks are playing well, we don't forget. We always forget that. We always forget he's been out for a couple of games, and we also always forget that Mitchell Robinson's been out for a couple of weeks.
So I said, let's not do that. But like I said, Josh Hart, phenomenal for what he's doing for the team. Quentin Grimes has turned into a good young player. Quickly, he's playing very solid basketball. Obi's got to get it back into groove, but he's been doing some good things here and there. Looks like he might stick around up after the trade deadline. So the Knicks have a good team. They're very capable of winning a first-round series, pending matchup, pending how they play in the first round. And if they did lose to the Cavaliers, yeah, we're hurt. And that's what I said to the guy. He's like, oh, but I said, if they did get Mitchell, then I would have been so happy with Donovan Mitchell. So you know me, I would. You do also have to consider they would have had to give up RJ Barrett, right?
And a draft pick.
Right. And a draft pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't think they had to give up something else? They were talking about quickly. They mentioned Toppin they wanted. They mentioned more than one draft pick. The Knicks were going to have to give up 4 to 5 guys, whether it be current and draft picks, to get Donovan Mitchell. And Utah tried to they try to grease us. We had a good thing that was going to work with them, and then they tried to get a lot more, and then they went and did that deal with the Cavaliers to get that little bit amount. But it's cool, you know. So if we lose to a team like that, how can if we would have lost 5 or 6 guys, would the Knicks have been the same team they are now? Let's suppose that the Cavs would have said, "We'll give you Donovan Mitchell." Donovan Mitchell and another player, right? Who else went in the Utah deal? Let's hold Donovan Mitchell and another player. We want RJ Barrett,
Emmanuel Quigley,
Obi
Toppin, and some draft
Obi
picks.
Toppin, and a draft pick. That changes your team. Quigley's playing good basketball. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to get all that production from Donovan. And Donovan would help on that, but the bench would lack. They would have to get other things too. So, you know, it is what it is. Listen, the Knicks are playing well, and they have a good chance.
They got Jalen Brunson. I told people, and I was telling my friend Wallace who works at Canarsie that Jalen Brunson's gonna turn the Knicks around after that bad season, but he didn't listen. He earned that money for a reason.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. 100%.
Yeah, and not to mention, if we want Donovan Mitchell again, he's not gonna be a free agent again until like 2025 minimum. That's the earliest. 2020 with a player option up until 2026. So when I think about that, I would forget about I would get my frustration out of Donovan Mitchell. It don't bother me. I expected him not to come to New York Knicks after what I read. What that he would have to give up to get this guy. I expected that.
Yeah, they have to give up a lot, and we'll see how everything pans out at the end. And Donovan Mitchell's a special player, but we'll just see how it pans out at the end.
Yeah,
simple as that.
I'm just hoping the Knicks put up a much better playoff performance than what we saw the last time they were in the playoffs against the Atlanta Hawks. But luckily, the Atlanta Hawks, well, we can't sleep on the bottom feeders. But we can't really sleep on the bottom feeders. We can't.
No, not at all.
And,
not at all.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Nothing but that sports talk. Thank you for stopping by, Ryan Walker.
Absolutely.
Always nice doing episodes with you, and the grind never stops.
Never ever.
Yeah. Don't forget to check me out on Point Blank with Shantelle and Hakeem. We'll record the episode this Monday, but whenever it gets posted, don't forget to check it out.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a long sports discussion, and if you're into boxing, you might hear my opinion on boxing too, depending
on for that big fight this weekend, right? Big money fight at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into boxing, why don't we talk about like your impressions about Jake Paul's fights?
I think. Listen, I'm happy for Paul. He's gotten better fight by fight. He's definitely has packs a punch. He can knock you out. He's got a 6-0 record, 8-0 record for both guys coming in, and then I think Paul will be victorious. He's predicting a 4th round knockout. I'm not going to go that far. This ain't Floyd Mayweather I'm watching here to say nothing like that. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be a good fight. It's a good money fight, and this is interesting because there are still, and even with me too, he's done good things, but even with me too, he's still probably got to prove that there are many skeptics out there that don't believe Jake Paul. They think he's a sideshow act per se, right? To some extent. So
he's on YouTube. He knows how to build it. He's been on WWE.
100%. So if he's trying to prove to people that he's really taking boxing serious and he's really doing this and getting better and progressing, it'd be fight by fight, showcase or not, to show how he has growth, and this is a perfect platform for him to do it. And like I said, there will be no losers at the end of the night when they go to the ATM.
No losers whatsoever. Well, to all the balls out there, just get your head in the game.